Call the meeting to order. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. I'll introduce the panel members first. Linda McFadden to my left, Maurice Tarrier to my far left. The assessor today is Matthew Barakis, and our secretary today is Kelsey Harrison. I'm Marcel Larondo. I will be chairing. We'll be hearing applications for revision of assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit the discussions to those matters. The statements that the applicant or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony. Anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessment of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decision with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to an application of exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. I'd ask that you put your phones on silent, please, and can you swear them in?
Do you swear in or affirm?
Affirm.
Can you please state your name?
Matthew Barakis.
And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Would you like to swear in or affirm?
Swear.
Could you please state your name?
Henry Dupont.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Matthew, when you are ready, we'll be dealing with 1448 Jefferson Avenue, and that one is strictly on the amount of assessed value.
Okay. File number 19-2521, roll number 050052637000, 1448 Jefferson Avenue. It's an apartment, 4 buildings, built in 1976. We don't have an effective age applied to it. 170 suites, 182 of the apartment squats. Construction class C masonry, bearing walls. Of the 170 suites, there's 66 one-bedroom and 104 two-bedroom. If you go to page 2, you'll see that they've been good, handing in their mailers, no recent sales. So this is the model valuation. We've got an average monthly rent of $1,060.33 with their 3% vacancy, 46.52% expense ratio, 5% cap as per each area and size determined by our model. We get our value rounded $22,442,000. Go to page 4. You'll see comps in the area, similar in terms of age, similar in terms of effective year built. They are comprised of 1 and 2 bedroom units, and they bracket the subject property in regards to average monthly rent per unit. We are on the lower end. The gross floor area, you'll see we are a good amount lower than the 4 comparables. If you go to page 5, you see what I did is I took a look at the income and expenses, and it looks like in regards to taking a 3-year history of the subject, First thing to note is, you'll see that there's a box in red there. So you got the mailers, and the mailers begin on page 8. And there should be another mailer on page 12. Maintenance and decorating, it looked like it was very high, and I didn't have any breakdown. There was no breakdown provided to the city. On a 3-year average, we're looking at over 3,000 a unit. You know, if I had a breakdown available to me, I'd be able to tell if there was cap in there, what sort of cap would need to be pulled out. So I took the subject expenses, but I used a repair maintenance per unit that is more typical and what we see when we're reviewing our mailers for a building of this age. So when I calculated it out, it came down to a good amount lower, 20,124,000 rounded. In my opinion, this value in green is more accurate. So that would be what I'm recommending today. A lot of the time I'm gonna use, I'll do the income and expense analysis for this subject, and if it's similar enough, I won't recommend a change, but in my opinion, in my judgment, a change is warranted on this one. So, the information from the mailers, page 8, you got 17 and 16. You see there's no breakdown for maintenance and decorating. Then you got the rent roll here, and then you got page 12 shows 16 and 15. The cap rate chart, the cap rate chart is on page 6. Shows our ranges, cap rates taken from the model, the sales, and the information we get. The very last page, there's a capitalization rate. There's a sample of actual sales that took place. Should be the very last page. During the reference period, so these are just in the third grouping down the properties, the multifamily properties. These are just individual cap rates, sample of actual sales that took place during the reference period. It's just meant to illustrate the accuracy of our model and to substantiate the model derived capitalization rate. They're not meant to be comparables specific to this subject property. So again, I'm recommending 20,124,000 rounded based on breakdown on page 5. 5 minutes, thank you.
Henry, you good with the rest?
Don't accept.
Okay. Ask your question.
Your page 5. So you're going site specific on all items, and I agree with your stabilization except for repair and maintenance. Where did you get the 1,200 per suite?
That's just what we typically see when we review our income and expense mailers, and we have detailed breakdowns. That's more in the range of what we'll see for a property of this age.
Would you agree at certain times you've stabilized the repair and maintenance between 1,500 and 2,000 a suite?
Yeah, depending on the type of the property, it is the age of the property. I don't just pick one number and go with it.
So you go site specific when it's under a few thousand a suite. So why do you go such a low number of 1,200?
Well, I try to use my best judgment in reviewing these. You know, if we have like townhouses, they typically have higher R&M per unit, as per the mailers that we've looked at that come into us. If we see a really old building that hasn't had a record of renovation, then those buildings typically are gonna have higher R&M. So it's just a judgment call.
This property on page 4, you have at a market rent 1,060. So would you agree that's on the high side?
Let's see here. Review statement. 60. Well, that's a rent that's to include all kinds of income. It's supposed to encompass laundry, parking, anything else that it collects. Just jumping ahead, we're pretty much the same in terms of effective gross income based on my my stabilized recommendation.
Right, now, even if it does include laundry and parking, isn't it on the high side? Higher than
Higher than average in terms of area, or?
in terms of this type of property, this area, whatever it is.
Again, I just took, in this instance, I used the actuals, so that appears to be what it is commanding.
So this is built 1976.
That's what we have on record, yes.
So your cap rate is 1974 would be 5.3%.
Let's see. Sure. 5%. So for 75 to 97, over 15,000 square feet, we have a size component as well. So if it was 74, it would get a 5.3, and that 74 category for that size, it goes from 46 up to 74. So we're, it's just by age, area, and size.
Okay, so your small suites, the 4% cap rate that you have on your cap rate, page 6, that would be for the small apartments less than 15,000 square feet?
The smaller ones, let's see.
Yeah, you have low cap rates.
Oh,
for
4. Yeah, okay, so for the 4, what gets a 4, we have 1998 and later, in market region 9.
And 4.8, 4.6, isn't that due to small suites?
In terms of the size of the overall building, not the size of the suites themselves.
Right. So in your page 6, you have the high-rise Colliers, and then you have low-rise A and B. So CBRE says the low-rise B starts at 5.75 to 6. Would you agree the subject is a low-rise B?
I haven't inspected the property, all I know is that it's a low rise.
So would you agree that your cap rate 5% is not supported by the CBRE? If it were a low-rise A, it would be 5.5.
I don't know what sort of information CBRE used or considered. We get all the mailers, we analyze the sales. We've got a heck of a lot of information, and we've got examples where, you know, on our cap rate, evidence of sales that are, you know, in the 4 to 5% range. So it's not unusual.
All questions?
Modis?
Yeah. Got a few. I see, I'm looking on the income side because you tried to stabilize that as well. And if I look at your page 5, your EGI, effective gross rent is stabilized at $2,021,000, okay? Then I go back to your, to your page 3, which you've revised now to $2,098,000. On the other hand, if I go to the mailer if I look at the 2017 income, on the mailer, it's 2,193,000. So it seems that you're averaging as, brought the figure lower than what the last mailer was, if we're looking at income specific. Because if I look at 2016 was 2,048,000, 17, 2,193,000, and you're down to, so my question was, really, on the income side, your comparables sort of justify what you've used. Am I correct here, or have I confused you? Because I looked at these different pages, and it seems to me that the income was pretty good compared to what you've used.
So, on page 5, what I'm using is so total income after market vacancy at 3%, I've got 2,176,309.07. So, I use the figures on page 8.
Oh, 176, I see, I got the wrong line there.
Yeah.
Okay, 2176.
Yeah, so then,
Okay, I used the wrong line, and 2017 was 2,193,000. I'm sorry, I used the wrong line here. Okay, what else did you want to say? I'm sorry. I cut you off.
yeah, so I think the difference, the real difference would be in vacancy. So, we use 3%, we use the parking and laundry. I ended up using the averages. I probably should have used the most recent. But those figures are highly similar, and we have the same effective gross income, basically.
Okay, I haven't looked at the balance. Okay, I think I might have had another question. Well, 3 to 6 stories, so you got a low rise, half rise, high rise? It's got 4 buildings, so
I think it's higher than 6. It gets,
well, it says that on the first page, 3 to 6.
I think it's higher than 6.
Yeah?
Gets the,
That's different buildings, sorry. Some buildings are 6 and some buildings are low rise.
Well, I was looking at the front page. I think that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Linda?
I have no additional questions.
So you've adjusted the expense ratio to a percentage of about 53%?
yes, 53.76.
That's good. Henry, on with your presentation.
Can I redirect on this?
Sure.
On your page 5, under 2017, you have vacancy and bad debt, 66,406.
56,406. 2017, you said?
Yeah, that would have been vacancy, and I would have added them together.
Vacancy and bad debt,
And
right?
bad debt, yes.
And that shows under expenses 17,759.
Yeah, that was added to it. They're typically calculated together.
Right. So the 2,193,000 after bad debt is actually 2,175,000. You would agree with that calculation? Your total income, 2,175,598. That would be accurate.
2,175,000.
598, and that you have in 2017.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's accurate because you brought up the bad debt.
Yeah, bad debt, it should be included in that calculation of vacancy.
That's all the questions I
Yeah.
have.
But you did include it,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. On with your presentation, Henry.
I got some photos on page 1, but it is a mix of buildings, 6 stories and stories. And page 2 shows it has 4 buildings. On top says the improvement consists of 2 6-story buildings and 2 3-story buildings. Then we got the map, page 3. So page 6 is the cap rate. We've changed our cap rate. So before 1975 to 1997, I had 6%. I dropped it to 5 3/4, but I changed the cutoff date. Instead of 1975, I now go 1980. So 60 to 79 is 6%. And part of that is the my cap rate comparables. I had a bunch of comparables, I believe ending 1974. I didn't have anything after that, but I believe that the 75, 76, 78, 79 relate closely to my comparisons. Plus, the market, the 70s is when they built most apartments, and 1975 cuts off in the middle of a large amount of apartments, all built the same in the 70s. Page 7 is the general ledgers that we obtained from Phoenix. I've offered that to Matthews in the past. The general ledgers are about 50 pages per year. Or no, actually it was 68 page that I had, so it was about 70 pages per year, so about 350 pages. So it's kind of awkward to give to the board and or give to the assessor every time. But we went through the general ledgers, and they have categories under the general ledgers, and that's what we have. So we report 2013 to 2017. We do a 5-year average. Then we stabilize, and then where it's blacked out, we do not allow capital purchases and major repairs that they have in their general ledgers. And general building, they have the category which we, in this case, we considered half of it to be capital expenditures and half that we will allow in the stabilization. At the bottom of the page, the general building includes turnover repairs, about 20 to 40% of the expenses, small parts and supplies, fire alarm testing, repair doors and locks. So looking at it, you would say the general building is repair and maintenance, except it was a relatively large amount. It was 400 summer suites, so we allowed, in the middle of the page, we allow 50% of that, which comes to the third last column, is per suite. It comes to 207 per suite. The refuse and snow, we show that separately, so that's removed also. So then we have the total at the bottom. Then we have less CapEx and waste and snow. So the 5-year average is 2498 after we remove CapEx and snow. What we've stabilized is down to 1729. One of the reasons that we don't stabilize necessarily the 5-year average for each item. For the first one, appliance maintenance, we did the 5-year average. The appliance purchase, we did 2014 and 2015, 2 years only. We didn't do the 5-year average. I guess we're almost the same. Maximum 167 per suite. That's based on about 1670 cost for replacing appliances over 10 years. We did the same thing with the carpeting. Average cost carpet flooring a suite 4,000 divided by 10 years, so we're saying it should be maximum 400. So in red on each items, these are the items that we do not calculate our stabilization on. So on the carpet maintenance, it's 3 years we don't allow. So we end up with an average of stabilized 6882 based on 2 years, 2014, 2017. That makes it 358, so we're below the maximum of 400. Drapery we exclude 2015, and the electrical maintenance we exclude 2016, so we exclude some of the high years. General building, we went through that before, we went only 50% of that. Painting and decorating, usually we allow painting and decorating, because that's the most repair and maintenance there is. However, it appears to be on the high side. So we allowed 50%, that only, we actually used the 2017, the lowest year, times 50%. Globe may not be happy with us that they're cutting down their painting that much. So it's about a third of the actual. And then the next three items, we went 5-year average. The plumbing repairs, there again, that's usually allowed, and we went with the lowest year. Before we went with the 5-year average. So it comes to 1729, so we went with the site-specific repair and maintenance, so line 8. If you see line 27, page 8, line 27, we stabilized at 1729, which is 290,947 that we have from the previous page. Now, I checked Matthew's income approach, and our line 13, Matthew's at 2,176,000, so he's a bit lower. And we virtually have the same items for everything except repair and maintenance. So we show line 4 and line 6, we show bad debt and vacancies separately. We stabilize at 3%, which I believe is similar to Matthew. Yeah, 526 that he's stabilized, yeah, same thing. 3%. So and then everything else I checked that we're pretty much the same, right, or maybe even dead on. So our NOI is 898,424, which is based on site specific. Then we apply a 6% cap rate, it comes to a value of 14,973,000. And the data is in the back, similar to what Matthew had. So that's the report of this property. I have a cap rate study. And I have a repair and maintenance study. If you don't mind, I'll go through the repair and maintenance study.
Page,
Oh, it's a separate report.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is based on every property that I've been to the board here this year so far. So on page 1, you'll see, we don't add up properties, but there's 61 properties. The one we have the most is the high-rise, 1946, 1979, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th category. So there's 14 of those. We have 19 low-rise, 1968, 1979. So these are the ones we have the most. And the high-rise, 46, 79 is the actual is 2240 per suite, and we stabilized at 1874. And the potential rents after discounts was 1,051. And the low-rise, 60 to 79, the actual is 1443.
You're on the page 1 yet?
Page 1, I'm going through the table and it's just showing 2 categories. High-rise, I think 4679, that's the one we have the most in.
Yeah.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 5th one, I think it should number from now on. And then the low-rise 60 to 79, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So number 10, the 10th line. The actual is 1443. So the high-rise tend to have a higher repair maintenance. They also have higher rents. So the average rent for the low-rise is $819. The average rent for the high-rise is $1051. So part of what we say is that the repair and maintenance matches the rents. So if you have higher rents, like a high-rise, you must maintain your property better for a high rents. If you have a low-rise and you have low repair and maintenance, it's likely because you have low rents. And then if you look the last two lines, the low rise, the older low rises have lower repair and maintenance and they have lower rents also. Then we have categories that are renovated, and when they're renovated or new, top, they tend to have lower repair per suite, mainly because they need something like 10 years before they start getting back to our normal recurring replacement of flooring and appliances, etc. So the first category, 1998 plus, is 1240 is rent. The repair and maintenance was only 874, mainly because they're newer. They don't need as much repair and maintenance. So we have a relationship between the repair and maintenance and the rents. Now we list every property, like page 2, the 1998 plus. To get the high numbers, we should go to the page 6. That's the high rise, 1946, 79. When we say 46, there's none that start in the 40s. And the oldest high rise we have is 1954, which is the bottom one, 333 Wellington Crescent. I believe that's the first high rise in Winnipeg, which is actually only 6 stories. You see middle of the page, it shows number of years average. So we have 5 years, 5 years, 3, 2, 2. So we don't pick 1 year out of 5. We whatever years we had that we came to the board with, if it's 5 years, that's what we show. And then we show what the actual was, what we stabilized that, so we're very consistent going site specific. And we tend to have lower stabilized than actual, which is what we did today here. And the next large group is page 11. So that's when we have 19 properties. Right, we have 19 properties. And if you look at the number of years average, 33355. So if you have 20 times 4, we have about 80 years. So it's about 80 years of repair and maintenance here. So we're not picking and choosing, and it's every property that brought to the board. So the assessor can look high and low. There's no properties I'm hiding. This happens to every property. And some of the repair and maintenance are lower than others. We tend to go site specific on how I picture all of them. Last page, page 16, there's an error, 661 Broadway is not renovated, so we'll be moving it category to the next repair study that we do. So every time we have a hearing here, we are adding 8 or so properties to our repair and maintenance studies. So as I finish my reports, we go into repair and maintenance studies and it gets bigger and bigger. So the 1,200 that the assessor has is not supported by that, 1,200. The low rises are, as I showed first page, the low rises were 1443 and the high rises were 2240. That's what the actuals are for all these years that we have. Cap rate study. Now you've probably seen this anytime. I know I spent too much time. However, the first page is what we have in our report. And page 3 is our comparables. So when we have comparables, usually that's the primary evidence. And the market reports that we get from Colliers and CBRE, those are secondary. They're more as support. So our cap rates are within the ranges that they have in the market reports. So we have the year built shown. And so the second is 1966, 68, 72, 73, 74. So we have 2 in the 70s, then in 1974, and then the next one is 2006. So we didn't have any after 1975 but we're saying that the 75 to 79 would be similar to the properties built in the 70s. And then the properties built in the 80s may be a bit different. From talking to the owners, I have been told also that the most properties built in the 70s had 24-inch wide stoves, 24-inch wide fridges. So if you recall, some apartments are apartment-sized fridges, they're small. In the 1980s, the fridges in apartments changed to 30-inch, and same the stove. So that's one of the big differences. That would make the newer apartments superior. So that, the last column, the average cap rate for 1966 to 74 is 6.15. Should we choose 6% for 60 to 79 and 5 3/4 for 1980 to 1997? So we're going with a 1/4% less, mainly due to age. So just to give a lower cap rate due to age, but the comparables themselves are 6.15. And over time, we have improved our cap rate study. We've added to it, and the main thing that we've added is the assessor's rebuttal evidence that came out first. On 5 or so properties, they gave extra statements, questionnaires, and we've incorporated that in our cap rate study. So now we have more data on each of our comparables that we had started with. And then I have a rebuttal, cap rate rebuttal report. So,
Just to rebut his.
to rebut his. So we have extra copies for files.
Matthew, would you like that curtain closed?
Yeah, I was
That'd be nice. Nice. Trying to
Yeah.
run it away.
Let's get that closed and get back, please. Thank you. Not that we're scared of the sun, but
I appreciate it.
These are for every single one of the files.
Yes,
Okay.
we got 8 there.
Yes. I have 9.
All right, we're good.
Yeah.
We
There
got
are
9
9.
properties today.
Yeah.
We got 9 today. Okay. All right, so we explained on the first page that we have a precedent from the municipal board. And the board stated that with the 4 remaining comparable sufficient concerns were raised by the appellant, which was being on
what page are you on?
page 2. Point number 1, informing the board decision, which we include in the appendix. Sufficient concerns were raised by appellant on 3 of those comparables regarding the purchaser's intention to significantly renovate or alter the structures. The appellant produced evidence from the purchasers which makes the board's question the use of purchase price and income information. So any property that's with intention to renovate is usually disallowed, the board disallowed in those cases. The cap rate derived from that. So sale, point number 2, sale, number 191 wrote that the assessor has, it was purchased with intent to renovate. And the property sale questionnaire in the appendix says that the property was purchased with intent to renovate and that the condition was fair. 2017 questionnaire shows relatively low rents of $6.63 per suite, so it had a very low rent. Would be a good candidate to renovate. Sale number 3, 394 Talbot. Purchase with intent to renovate. We have an email from Asteroid, the property manager, before and after the sale. The state the property was purchased with intent to renovate. 2016 questionnaire shows rents of $537 for 1 bedroom, $653 for 2 bedroom, and the recent website states totally renovated, and the rents are $800 for 1 bedroom and $900 for 2 bedroom. So they raised the rents by $300 per suite after they bought the property. So the cap rate that they had when they bought should not be considered because they did not buy it based on the existing income stream. That was my argument on the municipal board, and they agreed with me. Sale number 4, 285 Maxwell, purchase with intent to renovate. Then we have an email saying that the intent with intent to renovate, and that the renovations were in fact 413. And we have the 2018 questionnaire that shows kitchen and bathroom renovations of 413. And the last one the assessor had, the award, charge direct evidence of 5.16%. And point 6, the assessor has burden of proof that doesn't show workup or supporting documents before their cap rate should not be considered. And I believe that's my submission.
Matthew, questions?
And I would expect that it could be for all the properties we put here.
Yes.
Yeah. For just, I'll start with the regular brief here. On your page 14 and 15,
1 second, I gotta find it.
you've got an email from K4 starting at the bottom of page 14. This is in regards to this property or other properties on this?
Properties in general, because when we do site-specific, we go line by line, we had to come to what we would be considered a maximum. So we didn't know the cost to replace flooring, we didn't know the cost to replace appliances. In the past, I was going like 2,500 per suite for appliances and carpeting, and divided by 10 years, and now I got actual quote from a property manager.
Okay. The last paragraph there, you got some underlying text saying how the repair and maintenance has increased in the past 5 years due to competition in the area.
Not in the area, by newer apartments that are being built all over the city, and new condos also.
So they're trying to further down, we started at this higher level and will continue at this higher level than years past, mostly due to competition from the new construction. Then the next line says, in order to compete, we must bring up the standard of the rental units. So, does that not indicate that they're doing capital expenditures to make them better just outside of replacing damaged items?
They're increasing the standards so that they would have maybe a vinyl plank instead of rolled vinyl. But then that's reflected in the rent. So you cannot accept the rents and then say we won't accept the vinyl plank that was necessary to get those rents. That's why I'm saying the rents match the required maintenance.
So for,
I'm not saying everybody's on vinyl plank, it's just an example.
so they've been doing, like you can see on your page 8, they've been doing, like you excluded quite a bit of the capital expenditures. Have they continued doing the capital expenditures, like, because we're looking at current physical condition? Like, would this be reflective of the level of capital expenditures that would be excluded for 2018?
This property in particular, 1448 Jefferson, I don't have the 2018 income, revenue, and expense. But Globe is one of those companies that does it on an ongoing basis. So they upgrade the suites upon turnover.
Okay.
Whereas when they have a renovations or rehab, it's done at one time, usually done within 1 year. Globe is similar to many of the properties here today, where they're doing it on an ongoing basis on turnover.
Okay, so they're renovating when they can, it sounds like.
Well, renovate is a bad word. If you consider renovations as something you should not be allowing, it's the suites, they're being made ready to compete in the market. And in order to compete in the market, there's a certain amount of work that has to be done.
Okay, so for your repair and maintenance study, this one's a 76, and Looking at a couple categories here, for your stabilized 60 to 79, unrenovated.
Page what?
Page one for your
Oh,
R&M
okay.
study,
Okay.
and then about 2/3 of the way down. Would this fall into renovated or unrenovated, or maybe in between, based on them spending a lot?
The categories which were renovations, we're looking at properties with a large one-time renovation.
Okay, so for average, there, I see 1960, 1979, Altus stabilized 1381, and then low-rise renovated at 1190. Which category would this property fall into?
It'd be non-renovated.
Okay. So, with that, I think that's all I have for this. And then, for the cap rate stuff, I do have, I'm gonna move on to that, but I do have a handout. Thank you.
I give you two. Do you have one more?
Yes, I do, actually.
Thanks.
So, if you go to, what I've handed out here is just, some sales mailers for two of the properties that are in the Altus cap rate study. 210 St. Mary's is the, capture from the online, submission form. And then, once you flip past that to page 6, you'll see that that's for, 718 Beach. And if you, I've highlighted, the page, if you go to page 5, you'll see that, 210 St. Mary's, it was purchased, based on the net operating income as the highlighted portion, saying they assume the 5.5 rate. Altus is calculating 6 1/4 on their cap, and then if you.
Which page is theirs on? Is it on their cap rate study?
It's on their cap rate study, so if you go to page 3 of the Altus cap rate study,
Give me an answer to that. Yep,
that's 210, St. Mary's is the first property.
first one, yeah.
And then they're saying 6 1/4. And then the beach, which is the second last property in that second last column in the Altus. It's on the same page, on page 3. If you go to page 7
Page 7.
of my submission to you guys, it's highlighted, you'll see that they did base it off their net operating income, that they declared a 4.5 cap on this property. So this is just, I guess, more information in regards to those properties submitted there, to what the owner was saying themselves.
Anything else?
So, does anyone question me on this, or do you want me to continue?
Why don't you continue to question when you're done?
Okay.
Okay. Let's not get me confused.
Okay. Okay, so, when looking at the sales, in the cap rate study on the first, page 3, I looked at, the range of R&M, per unit, and, looking at the following pages, they're ranging from $332, per unit to 1,072. Does that seem like R&M per unit that would be indicative of what an investor would expect to spend on a per unit basis?
We went site specific on all properties. based on, we have revenue and expense shown for each cap rate comparables, and it shows how we arrived at it, and all based on the actual performance of a property. The 1072, I believe, is TPG Ward, and you have similar cap rate to what I have.
Yeah, we definitely have a similar one there. Do you think it's possible that knowing that a vendor would be selling a property, that they'd be doing less R&M leading up to the year that they'd be planning on selling, knowing that it would appear like it would be less maintenance, take care of the thing?
I don't think we can speculate that the vendors all manipulated the financials prior to sale.
With these cap rates, based on their effective year builds, fit within the averages, around the averages in the R&M study, based on year build? The sub 1,000 ones.
I have no idea, because my repair maintenance studies, I stabilize site specific on each one. Then I have averages afterwards, but I never stabilized one of them at any average. That's not what I did in my repair thing, repair maintenance study, because I show what the actuals were and what we stabilized, and we've gone site specific on each one.
Okay. So on 155, Mighton, on page 8, RVA, is that their actual income, or you guys have an idea where those numbers come from?
That was our research and evaluation advisory, which is our appraisal department. So that comes from their appraisal department.
Okay. And on page 12, there's 333 Ward. Let me see this, sorry, I'm losing my place here. For waste and snow, you chose to use the lowest out of 3 years. Is that, or use the most recent rather, maybe is a better way of saying it. Is that how the other properties in this docket have been stabilized for this line?
No, we tend to go 3 years on waste and snow, because it can be erratic. Here we have downward trend, and 30,000 for waste and snow is very high for 103 suites. So I believe that what they had was not or in the past was not the proper way to stabilize. So we went with the most current year now on that item.
Okay. And then just for your cap rate rebuttal, I'll move on to that and you can question. For sorry, I'm trying to find the page here. On page 9, a cap rate rebuttal.
Okay.
About halfway through the underlined section of the paragraph, it says, the board does not accept that any intention to renovate should disqualify a property sale.
What page are you on?
On page 9 of the cap rate rebuttal.
Okay, that's fine. I'll get there. Go ahead, page 9.
It says, the appellant produces evidence from the purchasers which makes the board question the use of the purchase price and income information. The board does not accept that any intention to renovate should disqualify the property sale. Does this not indicate that just because the purchaser intends to fix the place up, that the cap rate should not be disqualified?
The plain word, so the board questioned the cap rates that have the intention to renovate, and they're saying that they won't necessarily disqualify all sales. And it should be substantial renovation, so kind of agree with that. So properties are done on a recurring basis or not renovated properties. Properties with substantial renovations, usually done all in 1 year. Those are the type of properties to be excluded from cap rates.
And then, 191 Roach on page 12 shows that the property, the purchase price was based on the property's net operating income, and they checked it off as yes. And then they indicated they bought it at 5%. Does that not support what our example is at 4.84?
We don't use other people's cap rates unless we know how they arrived at that, so this is an opinion, it's not a fact. Cap rates are not facts, so it's somebody's opinion, and it's a round number, so they just put in a round number there.
Those are my questions, thank you. And I ask this to be carried.
Do you have some questions on this document that he put forward?
Yes, so you show 2 10-cent areas and beach. What's their cap rates were, that the purchasers' cap rates were?
Yeah, just what they submitted to us.
And 333 Ward, the purchaser also had a cap rates in there. They provided, didn't they say that they bought it at 5.44%?
Yeah, they emailed another agent.
So why would you show that in your evidence?
I mean, I don't have their sales questionnaire. That was in between the owner and that particular agent.
So in your case, you stabilized 360 Ward at 5% and you disregarded the owner's cap rate calculation of 5.44. So would you agree with that? Normally we do our own calculations, we don't give any regard to what the purchaser says.
That 544 was not a message that was sent to us. That was sent to another agent.
But you're well aware, because it was brought up to
I'm
virtually
aware
every
of it.
hearing of apartments in 2018.
Yeah, I'm aware of that one. I mean, I think we can agree this one should be around 5, especially if you average the waste and snow, it's like 5%.
No question.
Linda, any questions?
So,
Henry?
a lot of information here. But to go back to your repair and maintenance numbers, the discussion that you've been having with the assessor about the repair and maintenance numbers. Your argument is that the type of repair and maintenance that you're doing, if I understand it correctly, is to upgrade the suites, but it would be not a significant enough upgrade to, say, qualify for an exemption from rent control. It wouldn't be
Right, because it's ongoing, so the main thing is ongoing, it's upon turnover.
Okay.
It's not a one-time renovation. So that the suites are vacant, the turnover, and they replace appliances and place flooring as a normal, and they repaint the whole suite. And so you're not really improving that much if you're just putting new appliances, for appliances that have become old, you're just replacing. So naturally they go to today's standards. Some may go with stainless steel, some may not. And those that go with stainless steel will usually have higher rent. And those that go with vinyl plank would have higher rent than those that have the rolled and door tiles. So a property may change over time, and we don't know, we don't go in and start making checkbox for every suite. What there is, this property, 1448, went to municipal board, and Bo had an inspection of each and every suite, and they had a list of what they had, what kind of carpet, what kind of flooring, what kind of coverage. And it was a huge report, but we don't need that for every property. What we have is that they're obtaining a certain amount of rent. In this case, they have relatively high rents, over $1,000, and that in order to get that, they have a certain amount of repair maintenance.
So what would you consider a capital expenditure in that particular thing?
A roof is almost always capital.
So it wouldn't be per suite? Is that what you're saying? It wouldn't be done in an individual suite?
No, you can have expenses that are not inside the suite. You can fix your corridors, that's a necessary thing to have, and so the structural is usually not allowed. If your balconies have problems, and you don't allow that. If your masonry has problems, you don't allow that. These are non-occurring. Hot water tanks are not allowed, boilers are not allowed.
Okay.
Usually most windows are not allowed. No, I'm thinking about that because some owners are saying they're replacing windows on an ongoing basis, so they're starting to replace windows and they'll have window expense for the next 20 years. So if it's done on a gradual basis, it's different, but if they have a large window, we disallow it.
Okay,
Morris?
thank you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my head around this stuff. I think there's two issues here, cap rate and basically the repair and maintenance. From what I can gather, there's 90,000 difference on the repair and maintenance, and you're about 20,000 bucks of other stuff. So it seems to me these are the two main items to look at for us. There's a couple of things here. You did show differences between high-rise and low-rise, and I know you're arguing site-specific, but obviously half is low-rise and half is high-rise. So these comparisons here, to me, indicate it might be somewhere in between. Really, that was, can you comment on that?
The high-rise, the actual repair maintenance, 2240, and the low-rises were 1443.
Well, I had on this page, I don't know if I got the right one, but on your repair maintenance study for apartments, page 1,
Right.
you had high-rise 46 to 79, 1874, and
Right.
low-rise 60 to 79, 1381. So obviously, there you were showing about $500 difference between a low and a high.
That's what I was stabilizing at. And I went site-specific on all 14 high-rises, and I went site-specific on all 19 low-rises. And those are the averages that came to. So I went 33 properties, and I went site-specific on all 33 properties, and I don't think we should take an average of those 33 properties to get to the next property. I'm showing it here because the assessor's averages are not supported by the market. Because if you want to go with the market, it's not what I stabilized at, it's what was the actual cost. The actual cost was 2240 and 1443. And should we value properties all at averages? So those that are only 1,000 per suite, should we bring them up to 1443? And those that are at 2,000, we should bring them down to 1443? I don't think that's the way to value properties, because those that are 1,000 per suite usually have lower rents or have been recently renovated. So it does not match. It's not site specific to use averages. I show averages, but to tell you not to use averages.
The actual on the high-rise though is 2240, as you've mentioned, and the low-rise is 14, which is $800 there. So what I'm trying to get my head around is what's reasonable to conclude on both the evidence of the city and the appellant.
Yeah, so the high rises, the average rent is 1051, and the average rent of the low rises was 819. So that's one of the key factors here. So if you have lower rent, you'll have lower repair and maintenance. They match. And if you have a higher rent, and
Yeah,
here,
I know you mentioned that.
what's that?
I know you did mention.
Right, right. So here we have rents of 1021, and if you look in the top table, we have CMHC rents. And they don't go high rise or low rise, but 75 to 89, they have average 992. And low rises, 989, 60 to 74, virtually the same. And then you get the 1,076 for if you built 1990 plus. So properties like this that are close to the rent of 1990 to 2004, they're pushing the rents quite high, and the only reason they got these high rents is because they have higher repair and maintenance. So to me, you have to match the two.
Another question, Mr. Chairman, on your cap rate's at 6, but I thought you had mentioned 575, a cutoff, and the date changed. And it's pretty close to these dates here, so I can't recall where that was. There was a mention of 575 being a change you made. Where
Right.
would you take me to that?
On each
Where was
report,
that?
I have their small table, which is on page 6
Of
of my main report.
main report? Okay.
Main cap rate, right?
This one.
Or the main-
Well, or, yeah, this table on page 6 of the main report is taken from the table on page 1 of the cap rate, but it shows you easily where the cutoff is. So the assessor age category is 60, 74, and 75 to 97. My category is 60 to 79, and then 1980 to 97.
Okay, I just wanted that clarified. Thank
So
you.
my cutoff is 79, 80, and the assessor is 74, 75.
Thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
The city provided for St. Mary's Road the 5.5 cap. You provided in your information on your cap rate study on page 25 that it was a 5.35 cap, and that's excluding the land transfer tax. How come on your other sheet you're showing a higher number than that on that property?
And you're referring to what, page 3?
Year 25 in your cap rate study. It's showing it as 5.35
Where do I show 5.35?
on your page 25 of your cap rate study.
Oh,
It's evidence that you're, yeah, it's the performance,
Pro forma.
yeah,
They were asking for 930,
yeah.
and they got 830, okay?
Yeah.
So that cap rate to the pro forma was
Yeah.
based on a much higher price, so you have to go with the final price. And my 210 St. Mary's is page 6. I do show the information from the pro forma, which you have in your hand.
Yeah.
I show the actual 2015, actual 2016, then I signalize each item.
Okay, so you're saying this wasn't stabilized. And then, what are you showing for this one again? You're showing
6.26.
6.26 after you stabilized it.
And then after using the actual sale price, because they were asking for 930 there. And,
Yeah.
so that the final sale price is 830.
Now, would the cap rate not be looked at to be lowered so they can increase their mortgages on these properties when they buy them? Because the bank, they're usually going after as much of the bank money as they can. So the lower that bank, the lower they've got this cap rate, when they put this forward with their performance, it's better for them to be able to get the better mortgages, is it not?
No, as a lender, and somebody would buy at a lower cap rate than what I thought would be on the market, I would reduce my loan because they're overpaying, right? So the low cap rate would indicate to the banker they're overpaying.
Okay, no further questions. Let's pile this stuff up. We're gonna take 5 minutes to take this. We're gonna call this meeting back to order, and just to let everybody know that as we're getting closer to noon, wherever we are, We're gonna stop and take 30 minutes.
Okay.
If it's a little bit before, all the better, so we don't have a lineup when we get to the food station.
Oh, good.
We're back to you, Matthew, at 1225 Jefferson. All of them are just amount for assessment today, so
Yeah.
I don't have to repeat it.
File number 19-2911. Roll number 050052020300, 1225 Jefferson. It's an apartment. Assessed value $3,822,000. One building, 3 stories. 1973. No effective year built on it. We got 36 suites. Construction class C masonry bearing walls. Page 2 shows that we get hanging our mailers in. Page 3 shows our income value summary out of the units. It's an even split with 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom. The monthly rent as per the model, we've got $1,039. Model parameters on this one with a 53.48% expense ratio, or 5.3 cap as per it being 1973. Comes up to our rounded value, $3,822,000. Page 4 shows our comparables. Our rent, similar to what people are reporting of properties with highly similar effective year built, 1 and 2 bedroom units. The gross floor area is bracketed. Our average monthly rent per unit is actually a little bit lower than what the rent comparables are showing. Page 5. So same thing, I did a look at the actual income and expenses submitted to us. So similar to last property, page 8, 9, 10 show the mailers that we got. Shows, again, high repair and maintenance. So on page, without a breakdown, so R&M, you'll see on my page 5 the actual, it's 33 a unit, which is a lot higher than we typically see. It's like this, we're doing capital expenditures on this property in these years. So 1,200 a unit was used again. So market vacancy, it just took their expenses they reported and stabilized as per how we usually do. Parking and laundry, that was used as the average. It could have been the newest one, typically most indicative, but there's not a big variation. Anyway, their 5.3 cap, the value is calculated highly similar, 3,949, and we're at 3,800. So we're supported. I wasn't able to, I didn't have information in regards to the repair and maintenance, so I used 1,200. Pictures from the property, page 11. Got this from Peter. Shows that looks like it's in good condition, basic but maintained well. The last page, the bathroom, it looks basic. So we don't have an effective age on the property. It looks like we're taking care of it. My cap rate stuff is the same as the other property. That's my evidence. Thank you.
Questions, Henry?
There again, your 1,200 for repair and maintenance, that's just something a judgment call, is that correct?
Yeah.
Would you not think that's on the low side?
No, we see that when we review the mailers, and especially when we see, I mean, these years leading up to, you see 43 here, 43.2 is what I've used for the R&M. You'll see that in these years leading up to it, 34, 33 per unit. So it would seem like they're doing a whole bunch of work at once, which would seem like the years following there'd be less work to do.
Page 4, the average rent you have for this is $1,039, and that's for the 1973 walk-up. Isn't that a high rent for 73 walk-up?
Well, we're saying gross potential is 448,848, and then they're reporting prior to discounts and vacancy, 446,000, so it would seem that we're highly similar.
Oh, I'm not saying you're not going to site specific on this one, actually you're very close, but isn't it high for a walk-up 1973?
I mean, without having a chance to inspect the place, it looks like they're collecting a good amount of rents. Must be indicative of the condition of the property.
All questions?
Maurice,
No questions, thank you.
Linda?
No questions.
No questions. On with your report. Henry?
Page 1, it shows it's a walk-up. 18 one bedroom, 18 two bedroom. Page 2 shows your aerial photo. Page 3 is map as to where it is. Should maybe go to the appendix. Page 11. The statements that they give to the assessment department is here on page 11. And they have discount vacancy and losses, 11,566. And usually we allow discounts as a whole and vacancy we stabilize. So what we've done is we've got the general ledger data. Then repair and maintenance is shown there at one figure. There again, we did not think was sufficient. We've been asking T4 for years, and they've been providing to us the general ledger. So page 12 is the general ledgers. And it shows discount, 6886 on top. So the difference between vacancy and discounts, discount vacancy loss and the discounts is the vacancy. So naturally did not have that separation we do. And then we show each items. So the appliance replacement, we allowed 75% to get it to 2008 per suite. Carpet, it shows that what they had there was 176 per suite, which is less than the 400, so we allowed it. Page 13, we disallowed the roof, and we disallowed windows and doors. And we did have discussions with K4 about windows and doors, and they're saying they're not doing them all at the same time, they're doing them as they need. So this is an ongoing thing. They will be doing that for the next 15, 20 years. Nevertheless, I have excluded the windows and doors. Page 15 is the 2016 statement, and they had discounts again, 6599. That's what we show on our spreadsheet. And there again, we allowed 75% of our appliances. We allowed 60% for carpet, and they were spending 648 per suite, so we allowed only 60%. Page 16 is 4 items we disallowed. We disallowed all of the plumbing. They need some plumbing, so we could have gone with the 50%, 30%, etc. We disallowed the whole thing, and we disallowed the roofing, and there again we disallowed windows and doors. Page 18 is more of the general ledgers. And page 19, we disallowed the windows and doors, that's 7,000. So it becomes clear they're doing windows and doors virtually every year, but nevertheless, we disallowed them. Page 21, we allowed only 55% of the appliances, because it was a 300 suite, so we allowed that, that comes to about 167. Page 22, we disallowed windows and doors again. So like page 23, that's what they get the assessors. So the assessors said, well, they must be renovating, but what they're doing mainly is windows and doors. and not suite renovations per se. And page 25, we disallowed windows and doors again. And then we have the email from Avram from K4 themselves, saying that their cost of flooring averages $4,000 per suite, and you give the page 28, 29, et cetera, the information from their general ledgers, so they're actually quite accurate. The quote from the general ledgers, they give you the address, each of these expenses. So then I sent an email to everybody, which is gives everybody from our office, which gives the summary of what Evan Sharek, K4, had given to us. And he has stated that the level of repair maintenance has increased because of all the building of new apartments and condos in Winnipeg. That has filtered down to apartments, and they have to have a higher level of finish in order to compete. So the repair maintenance if you have for the 2020 assessment will likely be higher than the 2018 and so on and so forth. So page 7 is our spreadsheet. So I noticed that one difference with Matthew and I, that line 2 discounts, 6886, and they have vacancies, the difference is 4680. So that's about 12,000. So Matthew showed that as the one line and I separated. So I stabilized the vacancy at 3%, and the actual is 1.1, but I go a market vacancy, same as the assessor at 3%, from the discounted rent, the line 3, so after the discount. And I believe every item after that, we agree, like Don lobby, parking, utilities, insurance, except for repair maintenance. So repair maintenance and a little bit on the vacancies where we have a difference with the assessor as well as cap rate. So our repair maintenance, so what we show on line 27, that's after removing what we consider capex. So as Matthew may be reporting the total repair maintenance to have that year, but we removed capex each and every year. And then we took the 5-year average, it was 1837 per suite. Now, if you look at line 3, the average is 1,017. So getting 1,017 for 1973 apartment, it's a very high rent. Those are the rents that the CMHC would have for 1990 plus. So the K4 does very good management on a recurring basis, similar to the Globe properties. It's all on a recurring basis. But then you push the rents to the maximum. So we have high rents, which match with the higher repair maintenance. So the walk-ups, maybe the average is 1,500. That doesn't matter. We should go site-specific. We should go site-specific on each and every property. Under remarks, it shows what we've excluded for each of the years, which we went through with the financials. So we excluded windows, plumbing, windows and doors. One place we disallowed some flooring, roof and windows again. And the flooring, if you exceed that 1 year, because they're getting more turnover, some years over others. So that's my report.
Questions, Matthew?
On page 7, it shows vacancy, 2.70 and then 1.1 for an average of 1.2. We both stabilized at 3. Is there a waiting list to get into this property?
I don't know, I don't check.
So we had the
I
same.
doubt it, but I don't know for a fact.
Okay. We had the same email from Avram in the back there, and mentioned that they're trying to bring up the quality of the suites. So that would be indicative to this property as well as the last one, I guess, right? So they're doing well, I guess what I'm saying, with all the cap you've excluded, do you think there should be a bump in effective age on this property?
Oh, absolutely not. Effective age, to me, is totally wrong to start with. You usually do that for properties that do one-time renovations, and they're replacing all their flooring and all their appliances at one time, and you increase the effective age. And in 10 years' time, they're the same, or within the next 10 years, they'll be the same level as other properties that are been doing it on a recurring basis. So I totally disagree with effective age to start with.
Those are my questions.
Maurice,
No questions, thank you.
Linda?
Just one clarification. So when you went through and you stabilized your repair and maintenance, I noticed that sometimes you've allowed things and other times you haven't allowed things. So for example, on page 13, you took out the roofing, but you allowed the plumbing expense. And on page 16, you took out, and there was actually two roofing lines on page 13. One you allowed, one you didn't. But on page 16, you took out both roofing lines, and you didn't allow the plumbing. You took out plumbing.
Right.
So,
Plumbing is a current, it's a normal recurring expense. And the only reason to remove plumbing is that if it's on the high side. So what I should have probably done is maybe check the plumbing over the 5 years, and remove the high year, like we do with the Grove, but we don't have a spreadsheet to do that. We should be allowing plumbing on a recurring basis, and the only reason I
okay, so
disallow plumbing.
I see the difference in the large amount. I
Right.
guess in the question of around the roofing bill, there were two roofing lines. Page 13, you've taken one of them out, but on page 16, you took both of them out. And neither one of them are excessively large. So,
Well, the RTB regs means is what the residential tenancy
Yeah.
branches is what they use to amortize, and when they have regular roofing is not being amortized. So when they do repairs, it's allowed the RTB full cost, and when it's RTB regs, it's to be amortized. So the page 13, I did not remove the 4197. If it's a normal repair to a roof, it should be allowed. If it's a replacement, it should not be
yeah,
allowed.
I understand that.
So that one is a subjective thing.
Okay,
So if you have relatively small amounts of roofing, it should be allowed, but large amount not.
but that's not how you treated it on page 16.
Well, the 8495 for roofing, that's large, and the 2058 is lower, but it's, their RTB regs, meaning it's to be amortized. So that's the reason I removed the 2058 there, because it's of their RTB regs.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Can you explain to me what some of the, let's just take a look at your page 15 on top. Is there expenses there for gasoline for cars?
On page 15?
Yeah. It says under maintenance, got van and then it's somebody's name.
Oh, yeah.
That's expenses for cars, isn't it? For gasoline or repairs or?
Yeah, these are the names of their, maybe I should have erased their names, but these
No,
are
I'm
the
not
names of
considering.
their handyman that go from apartment to apartment.
Mhm.
And so they pay their wages as well as their vehicle expenses.
I've never seen vehicle expenses being put on a sheet for an expense. I've seen the wages, and that's down lower, but not the expenses for.
I would say it's because the total pay for Lyle Taylor and for Sussex.
Well,
would
you don't
be-
have to, don't mention their names on it.
No, but total expenses for Sussex or Globe would be including their transportation costs. Because they all have handyman that go place to place, they have a painter that goes place to place, et cetera. So usually it's incorporated into the expense for the painting and or
Yeah.
whatever. Here they show them separately.
But it didn't show it in the last one we had, and that's a globe. No.
No, Globe, this is K4.
Wasn't the last one K4 as well? The one we just did?
1448, no, that's Globe. So they don't show separate band expense.
So you say that's legit?
Well, that's legit. We went to the municipal board, we've argued, and if it's used for the purpose of repair maintenance and go for a caretaker to go get the supplies, et cetera, it's necessary for the operation of the apartment. If it was the owner, and it's not one of the owners, if you saw Abram there, then you say maybe not, you know.
Okay, I've got no further questions. Concludes that matter, correct? Nothing in summation, guys?
No.
No.
Here. What's the time? 11:03, we'll do one more, at least one more.
Is it faster?
It's getting faster, isn't it? Let's move on to the next file, which will be 1178 Jefferson. Matthew, when you are ready.
Okay, 1178 Jefferson, file number 19-2400, roll number 05004033-800. It's an apartment, assessed value 2000, 24,227,000. Parcel use, it's an apartment, one building, 4 stories, built in 2017, 24 suites, 25 outdoor parking slots. It is. Go to construction class D, water, steel frame walls. Page 2. So this property was recently built, so they don't have any mailers, applicable mailers to submit on this one. So we do have a rent roll at the back. It's a newer building. You'll see on page 4, or actually you see on page 3, the model summary. Just jumping ahead for the purpose of speed, we actually are virtually identical in terms of net operating income on this one, so it's predominantly a cap rate issue. Model parameters are used, and cap was as per age, area, and size. So page 4 just shows our comparables, but it's predominantly a cap rate issue. That's my understanding.
Henry, questions?
No question.
Linda, any questions?
I have no questions.
What is?
Just looking quickly here, I think it says docket anyway. On page 12, the construction permit says 4 million, total project value, and then declared construction 2.4 million. Any relevance to what we've got here? 4.27 million?
It says the project value is 4, and we're at 4,227,000.
Yeah.
We've also got the pictures at the end of the grid too. It's a new building.
Okay, I want to look at it. That's all I have, thank you.
Did I say Linda?
Yep, you did.
But
Not my room.
but you did have the sale of the land at 549 on top of that.
2013, yes.
Yeah. That adds on to your other number, correct? If you're looking at the
The permit
permit.
is just in regards to the
Building.
The building.
That's what I said, for the 549. It's just to follow up with Morris's question.
Okay.
On with your presentation, Henry. That's cap rate.
Page 7, we agree with the net operating income. We had cap rate only, 5.25. Now, if you refer to our cap rate We do have newer properties, sometimes we don't, and we do this time, so on page 3 of our cap rate, we have 3 properties that are newer. So we're lucky that we have 3 comparables, so the 333 Ward, built 2006, 5.13, 718 Beach, 5.42, 100 Southview, 5.59, built 2014. And if you want to go just quickly to the one property, page 78, 100 Southview, and that's the property that 5.59%. You can see that we have the full pro forma that they put out by CBRE, and the type of property it has, and it's brand new and physically superior to subject, or some new person.
Mr. Chairman, you agree with the performance?
No, the actual cap rate calculations, we do show pro forma at page 14, and they have 5.4% cap rate that they were asking. And we calculate 5.59, so we're slightly higher. Nevertheless, it supports the cap rate, 5.25 we have for a newer property. I know I've obtained 5.25% for other newer properties here at this board, and when I have not obtained them, I appeal to the municipal board. So I feel very strongly, we have data on the cap rate, and therefore we should be getting the cap rate 5.25.
Any questions?
I just one, on page 78, you referenced 100 Southview. That's, I mean, those, they have individual garages. I mean, it's just a different kind of investment than more of a typical apartment, wouldn't you say?
No, it's an investment like anybody else. We had 82 outdoor and 58 garages, like shown on page 80. It was a very large project, and it was sold. They were asking 38 million, some 50, and they got 38 million. And they put it on the market at 5.4%, that's what they're asking. They did not start at 5%, as you're saying. They're starting at 5.4. As a real estate agent, they usually have a rosy way of looking at things. So if they're asking at 5.4 on the market, they don't believe that 5% is the proper way to market the property. So it's the return that you're getting. You don't have to have, it's not a direct comparison approach. You don't have to have the same property. We're not doing it per suite basis. We're not adding the value, subtracting the value of a garage. We're just going strictly to the return.
Okay. That was my questions.
What is?
Just to pull his leg a little bit, page 8, you got 4,041,000, and page 1, you got 4,043,000. So,
Okay.
so you respectfully submit a request for 4,041,000?
No, I think the last page I forgot to change. I probably changed things over time. The 4043 is what.
He rounded it.
Yeah, I know. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Giving Henry a hard
And we
time.
pulled Henry's leg far enough.
Yeah, that's it.
I have no questions.
Good, let's move on to the next one.
Stretched to the max.
Next to the, we might pull this off now. Oh, I don't think so. Where's the truck?
Okay.
Number 9 Mandalay Drive.
Okay, 9 Mandalay, file number 19-2918, roll number 05004204,000. Assessed value $5,240,000 as for April 1st, 2019, 2020. Reference here. We got another apartment, 3 stories, built in 1980. 45 suites, outdoor parking spots. Construction Class C, masonry bearing walls. Page 2 shows they've been good. Hand mailers, no recent sales. So model valuation is found on page 3 here. You'll see it's a pretty even split in terms of the unit composition, 24 one bedroom, 21 two bedroom, with our average monthly rent of $935.37, and all the parameters with the 5 cap as per each area and size, we get our estimated market value. If you go to page 4, you'll see the comparables used. Similar area, effective year builds are bracketing. Our rent is actually lower than what in the neighborhood is showing. Gross floor area is right in line as well. These are all buildings, predominantly 1 and 2 bedroom units. You'll see page 5. So it's a similar situation as before in terms of the repair and maintenance and the capitalization rate being mainly what's in question here. When I did my workup using what they were actually reporting and 1,200 per unit R&M, we're at $5,418,000 rounded. We're at $5,240,000 on the assessment. So even if we added a little bit more R&M, it would just bring us closer to what the model valuation is. And it's the same situation in regards to like the detail on the mailer. It's K4 again. I don't have any breakdown. Wasn't provided prior to Evan's submission for the R&M detailing. And we've got pictures from page 10 onward, and then we just have our cap rate sales. These are the only pictures they have online here. So you see, like, they are taking good care of the place. It appears in the pictures, but it's not like they're putting anything elaborate in. So again, I omitted the repair and maintenance, and just looking at the subject actuals in combination with the R&M amendment comes out to calculates to a value similar to the model. So I didn't make any changes. Thank you.
Question, Kenny?
Gross floor area is 46,950, and it's 45 suite, so it's 1,000 per suite. GFA, so we just say that's on the large side.
We've got 1,043, and then the other ones in the area of similar vintage. They are definitely in that ballpark. 15 Mandalay, it's got higher GFA, so it seems to be normal.
50 Manley is a sister building,
Mm-hmm.
same owner, same builder.
So 301, well, the other ones range from 908 on the low end, and then we've got 2 that are 1028 and 994. So given these are just examples of gross floor area, it seems like we're in the neighborhood.
Small questions?
Maurice?
No, I have no questions.
Linda?
Thank you.
No question.
No questions. On with your presentation.
Yes, it's part of K4. This is built 1980 though, so they do have 30-inch stove and 30-inch fridges. But as per the photos that the assessor has, they do have some concrete walls and they have concrete ceiling. So it's quite, I mean, it's not that nice finish. But they do maintain the properties well, and they get really high rents for a walk-up. And we went through the exercise the same as the other K4, page 11. That's what they give to the assessor, and then discount vacancy and losses, and then the repair maintenance is not broken down, but then we get the general ledgers, page 12. We have the discounts on top, and we show the items that we disallowed as CapEx as we go along for each of the years, so that we disallow roofing, windows, electrical, windows and doors, and boiler. So we've allowed those amounts. So page 7. In other remarks, it shows some of the items we disallowed in 2015, 2017, windows and doors and roof and boiler. So we do have a little bit of discount, T648, the line 2, and we have the vacancy 6922, and Matthew had those together, and we show them separately. So we stabilized line 3, the potential after discounts, 552. Actual vacancy is 1.3, we stabilized at the market 3%. And I believe that's where we have a bit of the difference with Matthew, is our vacancy. Well, line 13, they're getting 547, and the original assessment had 489, so we were higher than what the original assessment was. And I went through Matthew's expenses, and we agreed to all of them except repair and maintenance again. So the repair and maintenance, line 27, that's after removing the CapEx. So those are all the years, 66, 62, 68, 68, 111. 3-year average is 82, the 5-year average is 75,000. That's 1674 per suite, and that's what we stabilized at. And because this is the 1980, that's our cutoff, and therefore we get the lower cap rate than the 70s apartment, so we're giving it 5 3/4. And we get a value of 4,246,000, and that's my report.
Matthew?
Page 7, very small vacancies. Is there a waiting list to get on this property?
They'll very much, I believe they have same, well, I did talk to him about turnover, and he's saying their turnover is about 20 to 30%. Shimichi has a 22%, so the 22% of their suites come out vacant every year.
And so it seems like there's pretty good demand for this property.
Well, in the end, they end up with 1.2% vacancy in 2017, and we stabilized in the market vacancy of 2%.
Okay. Have they been continuing to do windows and doors, like, onto, like, looking at the current condition of the place?
Yes, I did talk to Avram as to whether I should be deducting the windows and doors, and he was of the opinion I should be deducting it because it's something they're doing on an ongoing basis. They're not doing all the windows at one time, they're doing it on a recurring basis, so I would. And he basically said that we'd continue to do it in the next few years until they're all done.
Okay, those are my questions.
Linda?
I have no questions.
Maurice?
No questions, thank
I
you.
have no questions. How many we got left? You want, we still got 4 left. You want to take 30 minutes, or,
Sure.
should we take an early lunch?
Okay.
It's up to you guys, I could keep going
I
if
could
you want.
Keep going too? Okay, let's
I
keep
think
going.
we can finish by 12:30.
Okay. In that case, we'll keep going. See, boss here said we good. 15 Mandalay, sister building. Cheers. Matthew?
Okay. Okay, file number 19-29, 1904004203400, 15 Mandalay. Roll year 2020, April 1st, 2018, assessed value 4,922,000, rounded. So it's an apartment, it's the same neighborhood we're talking about, it's 1981 effective year built. One building, 3 stories, 45 units, 48 outdoor parking spots, construction of Class C masonry bearing walls. Page 2, behind the mailers. Page 3 shows the breakdown as per the model. Calculates to 4,990,000 rounded. So you'll see the columns on page 4, which are reflective of the property in terms of the various categories. We've been talking about similar 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom composition on this one. For the rent, we're below what the other properties nearby are reporting. Page 5, same thing. Vacancy was used as model, and the R&M 1,200 a unit. I didn't have the breakdowns. Again, the pictures and the mailers can be found starting on page 8 to 10 for the mailers, and then 11 to the end of the report for the pictures. Looks just like the last one we did. So, looks like our assessment is supported on this one. Thank you.
Questions? Henry?
Page 12 and 13, you see the concrete ceiling with the line going there,
Yep.
so would you agree that's not as good finish as other apartments?
I personally wouldn't care about that.
Okay, all questions?
Linda?
No questions.
What is?
No questions, thank you.
Me, no questions. On to you.
Page 7, it's a sister building to 9 Mandalay, so I believe they're very similar size, et cetera. We have a little bit of difference in the land area, parking. And Cape Flora told me in the past that they gave up trying to get the same rent because it's impossible to control turnover in apartments, so that they end up with different rents and different repair and maintenance because turnover, it changes or different. So one of the differences I have with Matthew again is that I put the discount where it is, and I get the rent after discount, and then I allow 2% vacancy. So I believe we're probably 8,400 difference due to the discount. And I checked again, there's expenses, they're exactly the same as mine except for repair and maintenance. So the repair and maintenance, line 27, is after removing the CapEx items, and we stabilized at the 5-year average was 1879, which is a site-specific for this property. So that the other one, I believe, was a bit lower, but it's due to site specifics, so different turnover of different buildings. For the rent and the repair and maintenance are matched, so this is how this property is operated. That's, then I divide 5.75 cap rate. This was built 1981, so we have a cutoff with 1979-80, and it has a lower cap rate because of that age cutoff. That's my report.
Matthew?
There are waiting lists on this one too, due to the low vacancy.
No idea if they have waiting lists.
And just for the R&M, given that the owners indicated that they're making a push to raise the, quality of the suites, this is, you wouldn't expect the R&M to dip a bit over the long term?
No, if you recall the photos, they don't have any vinyl planking in any of their apartments, so that's one of the items that higher quality would have. They don't have that. And the kitchen cabinets, they're still old style. Kitchen covers, still the old full form. So I don't think they are upgrading And even, there are some items that you would say could be upgrades, it would be reflected in the rent, but I believe that there's nothing in the finish and the photos would indicate that it's higher standards.
Those are my questions, thank you.
Morris,
Oh, that's fine, thank you.
Linda,
I have no questions.
and I'm good. Oh, that happened. I can never get more. Move on to the next one. 301 Mandalay Drive. Is that just the way it was printed, or is it my eyes?
Meant to
Oh, no,
confuse you.
I think it's the way it's printed.
Disappeared.
I'm going,
Okay, file number
Did
19.
Henry present on the last one?
Hmm?
Sorry.
Yeah,
Did present
Henry,
on the
yeah,
last one?
he did.
Yeah, he did.
You missed that?
I did.
Let's go pretty fast.
We'll wake you up.
Oh, if she's there, I'm not worried.
It was good. When you're ready, Matthew.
Okay. Okay, 19-23, 58. Roll number 050055309000, 301 Mandalay Drive. It's an apartment, 2 buildings, 3 to 5 stories, 1977 with no effective year built on it. 118 outdoor parking spots. RMFM zoning, construction class C, masonry, bearing walls. Page 2 shows get handed mailers in. Page 3 shows our model breakdown, 980 on the rent, 3% vacancy. For the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom building. Our model expense ratio and our 5% cap generates estimated market value 11,103,000. I didn't unfortunately have time to do stabilization on this one. You'll see rent comparables on page 4. Similar in terms of year built, construction class, and general area. Subject property does have a large amount of 3-bedroom units, whereby the comparables do not rent. 980 is below what the 1 and 2 bedroom comparables are indicating. So we have our cap rate evidence on 4A, and we have page 5 as our table, and then we have the mailers. So looking at just at least the total revenues they're collecting, 1291. I mean that does 1291,523 on page 7 for 2017. Now that does include $34 of interest, which should be removed, but that's post-rental incentive, post-renewal bonuses, and is inclusive of actual subject vacancy. So it looks like we're good on the income. I didn't have time again to do a breakdown on the expenses, unfortunately, but it looks like from the revenue standpoint, we're good. Looks like we're even a good amount low, so I didn't make any changes. That's my best thing.
Henry, questions?
No questions.
Morris?
Yeah, I don't know if it's relevant, but page 18, the permit has 560,000. Do we have any idea if that was exterior alterations?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just that they've,
New windows, new siding, roofing?
they did some work about 10 years ago. They're taking care of the building.
Yeah.
Those repairs would have been, they'd be 10 years old by
Okay, that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Linda?
Thank you.
No questions.
And I've got no questions. Let's move on to the next one. On to, let's move on to Henry.
Thank you.
Please notice, so page one is the photo. Walk up, masonry with balcony. Page two shows the aerial photo. It does have a little bit more parking than suites, it has 118 parking stalls for 106 suites. And large parking lot, but this maintenance also. Page three shows the map. Now we can go through the appendix quickly. Page 11, this is towers management. For their type of statements, we give a lot of detail on the repair maintenance. So that on page 11, we showed which items we put as repair maintenance and where, and what we put for caretaker, etc. Page 12 shows the repair maintenance. Now they have a separate category for rehab at page 12, in the middle of the page, they have rehab expense, they have none that year. Page 14, plumbing was high, and I did check, 2017 was 19,000, 2015 was 18,000, and it was 40,000 for 2016, so we allowed 50% of that for that year, because it was higher than normal. So then to our page 7. So it shows the discounts, line 2, so we took the rents after discount, and we applied 3.0% vacancy, same as the assessor, so market vacancy. They had actual 1.9, then we added the laundry and parking, miscellaneous income. So line 13, we stabilized 1277, which is higher than the assessor of 1209. And I didn't put it down, but the if you want to mark it, the line 3 potential gross rents is 974 per suite. So it had relatively high rents, so they're close to the 1,000 per suite. And then they have more income because of extra parking, etc. Now we stabilize expenses pretty much the same way, and I would bet if Matthew would do it, would have done it, would be the same again, except for repair and maintenance. So we show the repair and maintenance, 927, excluding CapEx for all the years. A 3-year average is 189. We stabilize at the 5-year average, which is 179, which is 1693 per suite. The cap rate is 6% because it's built 1977, and our cutoff would be 1980. So it gives us a value of 8,642,000. So that's my submission.
Questions, Matthew?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Linda?
No, I have no questions.
Maurice?
No questions, thank
You're
you.
good, thank you. There you go, the questions of a 35 Marbury Road.
Okay, file number 19-3068. Roll number 05004083-100, 35 Marbury, apartment, assessed value $14,769,000, rounded to 1976. One building, 10 stories, 135 outdoor parking spots for the 117 suites. If you go to page 3, you'll see that breakdown for the 117 is 37 one bedroom and 82 bedroom. Average monthly rent per unit, $1,013.92 for the gross potential rent. Parameters were modeled again, expense ratio, and as per age and area on the property and size, we come out to the 5% cap. Page 4, you'll see the breakdown of the property here in terms of the effective gross income and the rest of the figures here. So stabilized using the mailers that begin on page 8 from the web submissions. And so, looking at this one, the model puts it at 14,769. And when you stabilize the figures, and I used the actual RM on this one, I didn't make any adjustments. I used modeled, or rather market vacancy. And I came out with a net operating income of 596,000. Just jumping ahead, we're within $2,000 on the net operating income of each other on this one. So it's predominantly a cap rate issue as well on this property. That's my submission. Thank you.
Questions?
On this one, repair and maintenance, you stabilized at the 3-year average, is that correct?
Yes.
Which is 1461 per suite?
Yes.
So would you agree that it's much higher than the 1,200 per suite you had for the other one?
It's much closer than the other properties we're seeing today and is not outside of the realm. I mean, that is including 2017, when there is a bit more in there at 270, which I don't have on a per suite basis. 217 rather, 217,000 on a per suite basis, but I included anyway. Came out to under 1,500. It seems not unreasonable, so I didn't think adjusting it downward would be appropriate.
Did you check in the past that we were deducting the lot next door, as to whether we should be deducting that or not?
Oh, yeah, no, I wasn't aware of
To page 4, you see the two maps. The 136,000 goes around, and it's actually the lane servicing the subject. So would you agree that that should be deducted off the value?
This is on your submission?
Yes, page 4.
Well, it's on its own separate PID, right?
Yeah, it's its own roll number.
But it's not part of the property.
It's the lane servicing the property.
Okay. But that's not on the property, right?
No, it's right beside it. It's abutting the property.
So, is it the same owner?
Yes.
I'd have to ask about that, sorry. I don't, typically it would be, all part of one and the same, and looking at the income approach. I mean, maybe it should be added to the property. I don't know. I'm not familiar with this situation, so I can't,
I'm
honestly.
sure Henry's gonna talk to us.
Yeah.
Any further questions, Henry?
No further questions.
Maurice?
So you're revising your figure?
Yes,
To 11,926.
yes, I am.
You haven't said that.
I had not said that, and.
That was my next
Me too.
question.
But you're a little too quick.
11,000,976.
This one, the model.
976.
Has it too high.
926.
For sure,
20, yeah, 6.
yeah.
No, 11,000,926.
926.
Now, any other questions, Maurice?
No, that's all I had.
Linda?
No other questions?
Getting a lot closer. You like that recommendation?
No, we have a difference in cap rate than the lot. So,
It was worth a try, Henry. On with your presentation.
right, with 2,000 apart on the NOI. If you want, you can use the assessor's NOI.
It's 596. So I said,
2,000
cap rate's your
bucks. That's
problem
okay.
in your lot. So you don't want to talk cap rate in your
You're
lot.
generous.
Right, so the cap rate, we've had
Yeah.
a lot of discussion, cap rate,
Yeah.
this is built 1976, and therefore it should be 6%. And then it just leaves the vacant lot, roll number, so-and-so that we have there, and it's shown on page 4. Well, page 2, use the aerial photo. So it shows that that's the access to the property. And so it's a separate roll number. And so it's a private lane, so therefore it should be deducted off the value. Page 4, the assessment map. Page 12 is the assessment itself of that, so it's 136, but we see on the map also 136. So that's, and it's shown as a vacant residential one. So that's my submission.
Matthew,
On page 2, it shows a map of the property. Just in regards to that access along the back, that's not the only access to the parking lot, right?
No, there's part of the lot that's accessible from the city lane.
So, would there be any reason why they couldn't sell that lane off if they wanted to?
As of now, they have not sold the property, and as part, it should be, if it were merged with the subject roll number, there would be no extra 136,000 in assessment given. And I believe that the assessor value of 136 could be on the high side, but nevertheless, it's part of the whole package.
Those are my questions, thank you.
what if?
Trying to keep up here.
So am I.
So the NOI is the same,
Yes,
basically.
basically, the same.
So we're looking at a cap rate,
Yeah.
1976 building. Okay, thank you, that's all I have to know. Thank
Linda?
you. Oh, the lot, well, I think I'm sorry.
You what?
I'm gonna ask about the lot.
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
go
Linda.
ahead, go ahead.
So this is a separate roll number, so the owner is being assessed taxes on that separately? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
I guess I'm not understanding why you think it's part of this assessment right now. If it's already, if there is a separate roll number with that on, it seems like it's already separate. I don't quite.
The financial statements that we have is for the total property. So then when you divide by cap rate, you get a total value, and that includes the 136,000 that the assessors giving it. So that it's part and parcel of the subject lot necessary for the operation of the lot, gives you the access from one side to this property. So it would be the same if it were merged, it should be merged, it's owned by the same owner, same part of the operation.
Well, if it's merged, then there would be additional taxes to be paid because of that other piece, correct? He's paying taxes on
If
that
we were
piece,
merged,
is what
and
I'm
it'd be an
saying.
income approach, it would be no extra value, they would not be assessing the land separately. Parking lots that don't, given a separate assessment, as you know, so it would be total income approach. So when you do a total income approach, if it takes 3 lots to get to that income approach, well, so be it. You take the total value less the assessment for the main lot, and you get it's deducted, all of them are put together in the same value.
Okay, thank you.
I'm still gonna have to stay on that same subject, Henry. Reason being, when they do their sheet up, they do take that amount of tax off on their income, do they not?
I would assume so.
Yeah, so why we double dip it?
because it's part of the operation for the total package.
But they're already taking it off. They're taking that amount of tax off already.
And the income that they derive from that lot is in the rent. They have
Yeah.
better access, so
Right.
it's captured in the income and it's captured in the expenses.
Then it should be merged. Then it should be merged.
It should probably be merged.
Yeah,
And so.
that would be the proper way to deal with it.
No. You're saying we should not be deducting because that's the proper way? No, absolutely not. Any lot that is necessary for the operation of the property is always deducted off the main assessment.
That, I don't remember ever doing.
That's a given. So if
That's
the
a given.
if the parking lot was split, different roll number, you would automatically deduct it because it's,
I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parking lot, yes. This
Yeah.
isn't the parking lot, this is
It's
a
in the
separate roll
parking lot
number.
though.
yeah, and it's, and this is the same if you had the rearage against the river, well, it can't be developed, it's not used, it's part of the lot's part of the operation. Then it's used by this because it's a lane, it has access from two sides, one from the city side and one from the other side, from the north side.
So it's all paved all the way?
It looks paved there.
Seems to be something parked on it. Wish there was a better picture. I'm trying, Henry, but I'll give you one last shot at it. Convince me.
It's being used by the owner, it's part of the lane, it's part of their operation, it's part of the total value. When we get a value, whatever value we get, 9,000,009 or 11 million
Yeah.
that the assessor has, it should include the parking lot, or the lane, sorry.
Matthew, I gotta ask you, have you seen that before, where we take it off, take a value off for a property next door,
I don't recall.
just because it's giving access?
I don't recall. It's not the only access to the property.
Has it been done on this property before?
Uh, I don't have any note in regard to that.
Henry, has it been done before?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure we've been doing it every year, and I don't know if I have the proof here, but,
Wouldn't it show up on the tax bill?
yeah, but two separate tax bills, yeah. I don't have previous assessment.
It's two separate
that-
tax bills and it's not being deducted.
No.
This has been a long time client. And I'm sure we've deducted that virtually each and every year. Every assessment, sorry.
We'll have a discussion. Thank you, Henry, on that one. This is, that was,
244 out.
yeah, 244 Addison. Crystal.
Okay.
Matthew, when you're ready.
244 Addison, file number 19-3583. Roll number 05004561000. April 1st, 2018 reference date. Assessed value, 12,089,000. Apartment, 5 buildings, 2 stories, built 74, 75, 110 suites, 130 outdoor parking spots, construction class C. Page 2, the Henry Mailer. Page 3 shows the model value summary.
You're just on cap rate on this thing.
Yes, yes, we are. And I did do a workup, but I have neglected to remove some items that should have been replaced. So when I do remove them, our cap rate is like $100,000.
Is what?
It's like within $1,000 of each other, so it is.
Not capped, the NOI you mean?
The NOI, yes.
Yeah.
Once I make the amendment to my page
Repair
5 analysis, that's correct. I did err on this one. But it's cap rate, so I believe we talked about that.
So are we looking at an NOI of 640, or,
We are looking at the
I'm just confused.
net operating income, yeah, 640.
Not the
So you're
607,
sticking to the
Not-
original page 3?
Yeah, because what I done is I neglected to remove some roof
Okay.
and some other, and Henry actually, he did,
Okay.
and I should.
Okay.
So when I do, we're virtually the same, so, and we're all around
I just want to
640.
make sure that's. so
Are
we're
you
looking at
revising
page
to
3.
640, some 43, or some other figure?
I am, well, we're at 640, and I think you're at
642.
642, so I'm not revising the NOI.
So you're going with the 640?
640, yeah.
Sole question.
Maurice, any questions?
No questions,
You
thank
agree
you.
with that?
No question.
No question. Henry, your presentation. Cap rate.
Oh, you can take, look at the photo just for the fun of it.
That's for the fun of it.
And then you go to page 7, you see, it's a cap rate only, built 1974. So we see 6% cap rate, and that comes to our value of $10,705,000.
Questions, Matthew?
No questions.
No questions from you. Maurice?
No questions, thank you.
Linda?
No question.
Good, let's move on to the next one. We might go get a sandwich yet.
So we got half an hour on this one, I'll take all your time.
Don't have,
Sure.
We have a big difference in value of this
do you?
one. 6046, you're asking.
Yeah, make an amendment, and, okay, so I'll read out the roll number, and then,
Yes, please.
the roll number is 0500455890, 193517. It's an apartment, 150 Adsum, one building, 3 stories, 75, 61 suites, 70 outdoor parking spots in this one. Construction class D, water steel frame walls. I've made a recommendation. I was coming up against the deadline to get this one in, so I wasn't able to do an income and expense breakdown. And so what I did do is the first thing I noticed, we've got gross potential rent on page 3, is 709. And when I did look at their mailers, and you go to page 8, you'll see the year-to-date, they're only taking in 615. So the model needs to be adjusted on this one, like that's a pretty big difference. Now, I wasn't able to take a look at the expense end as much. So what I did is I took the income quality and I lowered it. Now, that created a new calculation. I can verbally give you the new calculation and you can write it down, or if Henry's okay with it, I have copies that can be handed out. It's just the breakdown.
You
I'm
okay
good.
with that?
I'm good.
Pass it out, please.
It's fine.
Easier that way.
Make it
That's
easy.
easier otherwise.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you.
Now, this should have been included in the brief, but I was rushing and I guess I didn't put it in. So basically, it's when we lower the income quality, it changes the rent from 985, 50 and 52 cents to 878.39, and that's inclusive of, you know, all revenue streams for this property. With the model vacancy rate, it comes out with an effective gross income of 613, 467.58 cents. when I look at the 2017 statement, it looks like, you know, they do have $15 interest in there. It looks like they're taking home $659.38. So we're highly similar in that regard. So on page 10, it shows that they're taking $645,544 in, and then on page 12, they're taking in, they took in for $600,000. So I dropped the rent, I dropped the income quality, which bumped the expense ratio, and it brought the rent in a level right in line with what they're getting. So with the new parameters here, it calculates, it doesn't change the cap, but it definitely does change the net operating income, and it brought it down to the $6,046,000, which is far more accurate. Last time around, it got cut from 6.7 to 6.4. This is actually a bit below 2018, but clearly, just by virtue of the gross potential rent that the model is turning out, an adjustment is definitely required for this property. So that's how I came to my recommendation. Thank you.
Henry, questions?
How did you amend the expense ratio?
Oh, okay, so when you adjust the income quality, like different income qualities have, so if I lower the income quality, it lowers the rent, but it also ups the expense ratio. So that's a model generated expense.
Model.
ratio. It's, yes, just model.
And the rent you got, their potential growth 632,441, that's meant to reflect the actual?
Yeah, in comparison to the mailers, I mean, I looked on page 8, and they've got their monthly rent at $604, but they've also got parking revenue, laundry services, and after vacancy, it looks like we're right in the ballpark, especially, you know, looking at the year before as well. So we've got from 15 to 17, we've got 600,000, 640 something, and 615 for the effective gross income for 17, and I lowered it down to 613, and that seems to be a good fit.
You mentioned page 10, the income there shown, 645,000.
Mm-hmm.
And the line right above is a realty tax appeal and recovery.
You're right, so if you take that off, you're gonna get probably lower than what we're saying for 17 of what I'm saying in my amendment, but it would make sense, yes, that's something I did not catch.
Right, so I show the 612,391 on my line 13.
Yeah, that would be more accurate.
Do you know anything about the condition of this property other than the fact that it has low rents?
I have not had a chance to inspect it.
That's all a question.
So which number was that, Henry, that you just agreed that was wrong?
Oh, my line 13, 2016 EGI, 612,391, because I exclude the realty tax appeal, and Matthew,
It should be, yeah.
So what does that do to the sheet?
Oh, that doesn't change that one, we're just talking about the history
Oh,
of
we
the
haven't looked
income.
at the other one yet.
yeah, he had mentioned page 10, the revenues are 645, but it's actually 612, excluding the realty tax appeal fees.
Doesn't change the number.
Okay.
Morris, on with your questions.
I'm done.
Oh, you're done?
Go
Linda?
ahead, we'll see what Henry has to
I
say.
got no questions. On to you, Henry.
Page 1, that's the
You're not
photo.
going with the rec, are you?
No,
Oh, okay. I just thought I'd check.
It's okay.
it's a photo, so that it was built by the Shawishkis, which are the owners of K4, so they're similar to the Mandalay or Jefferson, so they're large suites. Now, the 2018, we had a value was about 50% of the assessment, and same thing this time, so page 7. Our value is 2,769,000 versus the assessment 7,361, so it's something wrong here. We have to dig. Anyways, the line 3, the actual rent for this property is $825, and the other key four here today were close to $1,000. So I called the property manager. She gave me what they call some color. They still have the yellow shag. They still have the yellow fridges and stoves. It's amazing that at this day and age, they still have
It's
that.
retro.
I think we pay more for retro now.
So now I'm amazed that they're getting $825. Could you imagine the amount of germs in that carpet? And the stove, they stated was only 24-inch wide, and there's no room for 30-inch stoves. But that's quite normal for properties built prior to 1980. So they have gross floor area of 70,000 square feet and 61 suites, so they have relatively large suites. But it's a candidate for rehab. So for that reason, I did not dispute the cap rate. If you looked at it, I'm using the 5% cap rate. But we have to recognize the actual income, the actual expenses, and somebody would buy it and say, we could have spent tons of money on this property because they've been neglected for all these years. They have carpet and appliances from 1975, like, it's totally amazing. Now, she said the windows and patio doors need to be fitted and replaced, and they have a lot of leaking now, so that's something they'll have to do. They also have some red shag, sorry, it's not all yellow. And so they're starting to do it so that you'll see the line 27, the repair maintenance, the 2013 was 48,000.
Was what?
Eh?
What'd you say it was?
2013 was 48,000 for 61 suites. And then 2015 was 50,000, so less than 1,000 per suite. And then they brought it up a little bit, 75 to 106, so that they're starting now on turnover to replace some of their flooring. So it's just starting in 2017. They have a long ways to go. No, they're getting $825 rent, but they also have to pay cable. So a lot of the apartments, the cable is paid by the tenants. So they're actually getting, if you look at it, they're getting less than 603. They're getting 26,000 less. So if you take that, it's 36 per month. I have that far right. So that would make the rents below the 800. So that's the actual rent for this property. The taxes are relatively high, 85,000, which is 14%. I guess because the assessor over the years has not recognized how poor this property is. So I have it at the bottom saying the Towers took over management in 2014, and before I believe was managed by the owners themselves, which was well, keeping the things original. So the high expense ratio is due in part to low rents, high utilities. 26% is the utilities, the actual utilities. It has cable, it has high taxes, but it's not R&M. The R&M is not what's causing the high expense ratio. It's 68.6%, but I stabilized that. So I don't dispute the assessor's cap rate, because somebody wouldn't buy this and say they would spend tons of money in order to change it. And they will likely do it, I would think, one step, one time, rather than going, because you have to replace all the windows and doors, and the roof is probably bad. So because it's been neglected, it would need a lot of money. So we have to recognize its actual NOI, etc. But I use the low cap rate. That's my value, which is my 50% of the assessment, and there's a reason for that.
Matthew?
Okay, so, line 27, you have your repair and maintenance. So, you averaged 2015 and 2017.
Yep.
When you omitted 13, why was that omitted?
Because it's from our previous management, and we didn't have 2014.
Okay,
So normally we go 5 years, but then 48,000, that's too low, so that what they spent the last 2 years is more current. So for this property, that's what I use.
okay. So it wouldn't be appropriate to include it in your calculation for R&M, right?
No, I think it's too far away, previous management.
Okay, okay, so that would be 786 per unit. Now,
The 48,786, you're saying?
yeah, 786
Okay.
a unit. So just when I compare that to your cap rate R&M, I only find 2 properties with higher R&M per unit than this one. And you just qualified this R&M for being too low. Do you think maybe some of the reported R&Ms for the cap rate sales would be potentially some years be too low as well?
I believe the walk-ups was 1443 was the repair maintenance, and there they had average rent, the 60 to 79, 819. But the other ones that we had here today, built in Sundays, had close to 1,000 rent and over 1,500 repair maintenance. So this is less repair maintenance and less rent than the other ones we had here today.
Well, I'm just talking about the cap rate R&Ms.
Oh, cap rate R&M?
Yeah, the cap rate R&Ms, they range from 332 to 1072, and Ward and St. Anne's have 1,072 per unit and 1,003 per unit respectively, and everything else would be below the 786 you excluded for 2013. Do you think just some of those R&Ms, might they be too low too to be considered for analysis in your Capra City?
403 St. Anne's basically shows rehab sale, which we have 2 years before the sale, and that's why they have low repair and maintenance. 155 Mighton was renovated. 333 Ward was a new property. So my cap rate had site-specific repair and maintenance. And so we do here also.
Okay. Those are my questions, then.
Morris?
Yeah, I just want clarification. So are you saying that the EGI on page 7 is 601,179? Because you've got the 825 in the middle there, and are we still looking at 601,179 as the line 13?
Yes, and I stabilized vacancy at 3%, and the actual was 0.8%.
Yeah, so the revised figure of the city is 613,467. So we're looking at 601 versus 613,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, so then we're going back down to the, your rate of 68.6. Now, the last assessment was revised to 6,271,000. No, that was the 2014, I guess. Because I see the order on page 24.
Oh, okay.
Page 24. It's been appealed to municipal board because you mentioned that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
On the following page, It's reduced to 6271. So that would be for the previous cycle? Okay, I'm mixed up on my.
No, I'm using that for the tax calculation. I calculated the taxes. 2017 taxes are 85,000. And the 2016 tax was 99,000, my line 30. And the reason it's lower is because they had a delayed penalty.
Yeah, I know, I saw that.
Okay, so that the 85,000 matches. I forgot, I did show the previous decision, so page 21 is the 2018 decision.
21, okay, I'll go to that one, I missed it.
Oh, Mr. Aranda was there.
Okay. And that was reduced to 6,402,000.
Right, and I did not know at the time that they had the yellow shag and the yellow appliances.
So the cap rate was 5.5 on that appeal.
Right, and then the page 22 is my income quotes that I had. So I was using site-specific repair and maintenance and income, and I had a value as about half of the assessment. But this time around, I went and got an explanation, and so I did not know, because we didn't do that well at the Board of Revision, and we appealed to municipal board. But we have to find out the story, and I found out the story this time.
So it's still before the meeting board?
Still before the-
Both are before, okay?
Right.
That's what I was looking at. I think that's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And that,
I don't have any further questions.
I made it so easy.
Yeah?
Have you seen the property at all, Matthew?
No.
Have you actually walked into this property?
No.
What's, of all the properties we've dealt with today, the age on this property is older. Why are we coming in at a 5 on this one when you look at the condition of it and all the rest that we're speaking of?
Their cutoff is 1975.
Yeah,
That's where it goes from 5.3 to 5%.
and yours goes,
Well, normally I would be 5 3/4, but, 6, it would be, normally it'd be 6%. I'm going 5 because it's a candidate for renovation.
okay,
That lowers the cap rate because it increases the income potential, right?
Right, so it has more potential. I mean, it's a bad property, but somebody would buy it with the intention to fix.
Okay.
Hardly nobody would buy this for the existing income stream, so that they would say, we can afford to get a low cap rate going in because we're gonna fix
be
it.
surprised if they buy.
But, yeah, I would be very careful buying a property like that.
Thank you very much. That concludes matters for today. Let's shut her down. Let's take a few minutes, okay? You wanna go get a sandwich or something, or just keep going?
We can just keep going this way.
It's 12:14, so.
Yeah.